right, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to do a really quick Trias update. You'll probably notice that I do not have the camera on right now. This is a pretty urgent update, so I'm trying to get this out as fast as possible to you guys. Seeing a potential for a breakout here in the coming days or even hours for Trias. So I want to get this out. We're going to quickly cover chart patterns I'm seeing and then a few price predictions as well, short-term and long-term. So let's dive right in. First of all, I just kind of want to cover and dive into where we've been going recently. We saw this awesome run up, a really hype run up to about $26, $27. We then kind of retraced here just over the last few weeks, down, about 40%. It's a healthy pullback. We saw Bitcoin and Ethereum pull back as well, and it's healthy, as opposed to just going straight parabolic so early in the bull market. So that being said, the bullish news continues here. We had this falling wedge develop just basically through the beginning of November. And we recently, and why this is so urgent, we recently, just today, we had this massive green candle here on the 4-hour, convincingly broke above out of the falling wedge. So now we're kind of in this critical time frame where over the next few days, we're going to want to try to sit on this fib, okay? And before we do that, I'm going to say that it's probably likely we come back, check this falling wedge, retest, maybe something like this level right here. We saw that, just so I can mark this clearly, you saw these, 4 or 5 4-hour candles right here kind of play within that little space right along that resistance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we came down and tested something closer to here. So that would be 16.6, and then maybe come back and even test the falling wedge line. That would be healthy, okay? If we fall back down below this level, that's something that we're gonna want to watch closely. Excuse me. But first of all, we want to make sure that we not only test this falling wedge line, but then directly after that, we want to make sure that we come up, establish support here. Okay, we need to establish support around $17.30. And that's when things start to get interesting, because then we can kind of look to the upside. So now that we kind of went through that, a couple other patterns I want to point out. First of all, we're seeing a pretty quintessential head and shoulders right here. So you can see 2 shoulders and the head. And typically that's a bullish pattern. So obviously it doesn't always indicate a bullish pattern, but typically that is a bullish pattern. And something unique that I want to point out about the Trias chart is that right before our parabolic run here in April, we actually saw the same exact pattern. So we're going to want to keep our eyes out over the next few days or weeks on the action around Trias and what's going on. The other thing that I will note that was really healthy for the chart to note when we kind of break back up, hopefully to the upside here out of this falling wedge, wanted to note that this previous resistance right here on this fib line, so that'd be the $20.77 mark, that became somewhat of a support line here. So we held it just for a little bit, and then obviously dropped back down. But the key to note there is that we're doing a lot better on this side of the chart than we were over here. So after this breakout, the chart is looking stronger to establish a bullish continuation pattern back to the upside. So short term, the kind of prices we want to look for. First of all, I'm gonna say we're gonna go up maybe a little bit higher here, then probably come back down, maybe tap this falling wedge trend line, and then come back up and hopefully sit on this fib, which is around $17.20. Then the next target we're gonna look for is about $20.77. That was this previous resistance here. That's gonna be our next kind of goal. And then obviously we're gonna wanna come up and retest eventually this previous all-time high level. So, excuse me, not previous all-time high, but most recent high. So we're gonna come up and test that level, and I'm gonna assume we're gonna bounce and go sideways a little, and then try to blow through it eventually, and then obviously sit on top. And once we sit on top of this 26, 25 level, that's when things get interesting to come up to that all-time high. Okay, so we're seeing a pretty clear pattern to come back up to that all-time high, test it, and then hopefully blow above that. And really quickly, before we go into you know, the long-term prediction and what we're going to see for end of year, end of run, I just want to touch on the just overall strength of this chart, right? So we basically came up here, tested this level pretty healthily, came back, but look at the perfect bounce off of this 13.7 fib. I mean, it's almost like it's almost scary perfect, guys. Okay, that is beautiful. That is a beautiful test. We don't even wick below. A lot of the times you'll see charts come below this fib on a previous low, come below it, test it below it, test it below it, but this just bounces right off, and it turns out that that is actually our head for the head and shoulders. And that's why I am just so bullish here in the coming weeks on Trias. And then of course, long term, I mean, this project is just awesome. It's one of my biggest bags. And just want to give you guys full disclosure there. So now that we kind of touched on that, just want to recap really quick, long-term targets. So we've talked about Trias quite a bit on this channel. As I said, it's one of my favorite altcoins. A lot of potential, but just kind of want to review here long-term. So we talked about this briefly before, but previous all-time low to all-time high, I can't reach it here, but 32 bucks. And then previous low here, and then to projected high. If we were gonna kind of do the same parabolic trajectory, we'd be looking at like something between 120 and 127 bucks. I believe this was, I don't have the math, I don't have the numbers right up here in front of me. Let's see here. It was about, you know, somewhere between like, you know, a 20 and 30x. And I've done the math before on this chart. I've seen this chart a ton, you know, I've talked about it a ton. So I just remember the math is, you know, same parabolic trajectory from this low to our projected high is somewhere between 120 and 130 bucks. That would be for the cycle, but I do think that we could go higher. Right now, though, I think based on the chart and technical analysis, long term, I think we're looking for, you know, somewhere between 120 and 130 bucks, hopefully by end of cycle. Again, it can go a lot higher, right? If we get the listings that are expected, you know, if some of the tokens if more tokens get to be burned, if other news comes out, if the mainnet is super successful, all these things, right, just will pile onto each other. But this is solely based off technical analysis, right? Also adding the fundamental, I think Trias can go a lot higher, but based on the chart solely, this is what I'm seeing long-term. And then I think end of year, the goal is to get a clearly, you know, obviously above the all-time high, but then hopefully by end of year, we can stand up above on the next fib and then shoot for, you know, something between 80 and 100 bucks end of year, because that number, between 80 and 100 bucks at the end of the year, would put us well within striking distance for 120, 130, and then also give us some room to go higher. So that's what I am seeing right now, guys. Again, really quick, just to recap, I want to make this quick. We just broke out of a falling wedge pattern. We're looking really bullish. We have a head and shoulders that basically is repeating itself from our last parabolic run in April. We are likely going to want to obviously stand on this fib next, is about $17.20 before we shoot to the upside. I think that there is a possibility we come back down here, you know, to the you know, low 16s, high 15s one more time before we stand up on this. Definitely possible. You know, you do see that a lot of the times before breaking completely out of a falling wedge. But that's what I'm seeing right now. And then after that, you know, $17.20 fib, we're looking straight to $20-ish and 27 cents. We're gonna wanna go up against this resistance one more time, like I said. And then after that, we hopefully stand on this, stand on 26, and then shoot for all-time high. So that's what I'm seeing right now. And then obviously long-term, we said 120 to 130, hopefully, and then obviously could go a lot higher based on some of that fundamental news. So that's what I'm seeing right now, guys. Wanted to get this update out to you really fast. Thank you so much for the recent support. Let me know in the comments below what other projects you'd like me to cover, and drop a like if you found this valuable. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video.